Hola, everyone. It's Bible study time. All right, y'all. Super excited about delivering a thought-provoking Bible study for you all today. But as with anything, y'all, it's if you find any of my content relevant, if you find it informative, if you find it necessary for either your life or the lives of someone else, please subscribe, please click like, and please share. Um, yeah, pass it around, let people marinate on it, and also subscribe and like so that when I deliver my new content, you don't have to come looking. It'll automatically default to your timeline, and it'll just be easier for you. Okay. So today we're gonna be speaking out of the Judeo-Christian Bible, out of Genesis, and we are going to be speaking out of the Apocrypha, out of the book of the life of Adam and Eve, and the book of Jasher. So today we're going to be speaking to the Adam and Eve story, and we are going to go ahead and add in the Cain and Abel story. I was going to just speak to Cain and Abel today, but because I would be doing you a disservice by not leading to the happenings that transpired before that, which make the Cain and Abel story so relevant, I decided to just kind of combine them. So it'll be an interesting Bible study today, okay? So let's get into it. Let's invoke the word of God to assist me in the discernment of his word. I've been super busy, you guys. I have been doing a lot on the personal side, and I moved back into my house, and I have anyone that has experienced a move knows that it's just a very chaotic thing. But I got all that done, and I'm even making time to honor my commitment, which is my Bible studies. So pat myself on the back for that, and looking to continue giving you guys quality content as the days, weeks, and months progress. So, all right, let's invoke the Spirit of God to assist me in the discernment of his word. Heavenly Father and Mother, I come before you in love. I come looking for you. In all the pages of these books, I look for your truth, to align them to my life, to lead me in the path of righteousness so that I know that I'm making good decisions, Father. Mother, I search for you for truth, for direction, for clarity, for knowledge of myself. I ask that you speak through me, Father and Mother, all of your truths that are found within the pages of these books, that you write them on my heart so that I can convey them in honesty and integrity to the children. In love, I come before you, thanking you for all that you are, all that you have been, and all that you will always be. I love you and I thank you. And in God's name I pray, amen. All right. Okay, you guys, so we're going to get it going. Okay, so we are out of the Bible. We're going to read, I don't want to lose this page here. Let's save that. So what we're reading today is out of the Bible. We're going to be reading out of Genesis chapter 3, verse 5. Then we're going to skip over to the Apocrypha. We're going to read out of the book of life of Adam and Eve, chapter 15 through 23. And then we're going to play it by ear as to what we do after that, okay? All right, so Genesis. Uh-oh. It would have been good if I would have been there, right? Okay, dokie. Genesis chapter 3, verse 5. For God doeth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. Okay? And then we're going to go ahead on and go over to the life of Adam and Eve, chapter 15. Through 23. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna read out of the life of Adam and Eve, chapter 14 through 23. Thus spoke the messenger and departed from them. And Seth and Eve came to the hut where Adam was laid, and Adam says to Eve, Eve, what have you worked in us? You have brought on us a great wrath, which is death, lording it over all our race. And he says to her, call all our children and our children's children, and tell them the manner of our transgression. Then Eve says to them, hear, all my children and children's children, and I will relate to you how the enemy deceived us. It befell that we were guarding paradise, each of us the portion allotted to us from God. Now I guarded my lot, the west and the south, but the devil went to Adam's lot, where the male creatures were. For God divided the creatures, all the males he gave to your father, and all the females he gave to me. And the devil spoke to the serpent, saying, rise up, come to me, and I will tell you a word whereby you may have profit. And he arose and came to him, and the devil says to him, I hear that you are wiser than all the beasts, and I have come to counsel you. Why do you eat of Adam's tares and not of paradise? Rise up, and we will cause him to be cast out of paradise, even as we were cast out through him. The serpent says to him, I fear lest the Lord be angry with me. The devil says to him, do not fear, only be my vessel, and I will speak through your mouth words to deceive him. And instantly he hung himself from the wall of paradise. And when the messengers ascended to worship God, then Satan appeared in the form of the messenger and sang hymns like the messengers. And I bent over the wall and saw him like a messenger. But he says to me, are you Eve? And I said to him, I am. He said, what are you doing in paradise? And I said to him, God set us to guard and to eat of it. The devil answered through the mouth of the serpent, you do well, but you do not eat of every plant. And I said, yes, we eat of all, save one only, which is in the midst of paradise, concerning which God charged us not to eat of it. For he said to us, on the day on which you eat of it, you will die the death. Then the serpent says to me, may God live, but I am grieved on your account, for I would not have you ignorant. But arise, come here, listen to me, and eat, and mind the value of that tree. But I said to him, I fear lest God be angry with me, as he told us. And he says to me, do not fear, for as soon as you eat of it, you too will be as God, and in that you will know good and evil. But God perceived this, that you would be like him. So he envied you and said, you will not eat of it. No, give heed to the plant, and you will see its great glory. Yet I fear to take of the fruit. And he says to me, come here, and I will give it to you. Follow me. And I opened to him, and he walked a little way, and turned and said to me, I have changed my mind, and I will not give you to eat until you swear to me to give also to your husband. And I said, what sort of oath will I swear to you? Yet what I know I say to you, by the throne of the Master, and by the cherubim of the tree of life, I will also give to my husband to eat. And when he received the oath from me, he went and poured on the fruit the poison of his wickedness, which is lust, the root and beginning of every sin. And he bent the branch on the earth and took of the fruit, and I ate. And I took of the fruit, and I ate. And in that very hour my eyes were opened, and I immediately knew that I was bare of the righteousness which I had been clothed on. And I wept, and I said to him, why have you done this to me, and that you have deprived me of the glory which I was clothed? But I also wept about the oath which I had sworn. But he descended from the tree and vanished. And I began to seek in my nakedness in my part for leaves to hide my shame. But I found none, for as soon as I had eaten, the leaves showered down from all the trees in my part, except the fig tree only. But I took leaves from it and made for myself a girdle, and it was from the very same plant of which I had eaten. And I cried out in that very hour, Adam, Adam, where are you? Rise up, come to me, and I will show you a great secret. But when your father came, I spoke to him words of transgression, which have brought us down from our great glory. For when he came, I opened my mouth, and the devil was speaking. And I began to exhort him and said, come here, my lord Adam, listen to me, and eat of the fruit of the tree of which God told us not to eat of it, and you will be as God. And your father answered and said, I fear lest God be angry with me. And I said to him, do not fear, for as soon as you have eaten, you will know good and evil. And speedily I persuaded him, and he ate. And immediately his eyes were open, and he too knew he too knew his nakedness. And to me he says, "O wicked woman, what have I done to you that you deprive me of the glory of God?" And in that same hour we heard the chief messenger Michael blowing with his trumpet and calling to messengers and saying, "Thus says the Lord, come with me to paradise and hear the judgment with which I will judge Adam." And when God appeared in paradise, mounted on the chariot of his cherubim, with the messengers proceeding before him and singing hymns of praises, all the plants of paradise, both of your father's lot and mine, broke out into flowers. And the throne of God was fixed where the tree of life was. And God called Adam, saying, "Adam, where art you?" "Can the house be hidden from the presence of its builder?" Then your father answered, "It is not because we do not think to be found by you, Lord, that we hide, but I was afraid because I am naked, and I was ashamed before your might, my master." God says to him, "Who showed you that you were naked? Unless you have forsaken my commandment, which I delivered you to keep." Then Adam called to mind the word which I spoke to him, saying, "I will make you secure before God." And he turned and said to me, "Why have you done this?" And I said, "The serpent deceived me." All right, y'all. So the reason I chose to speak to the Adam and Eve story is because I'm currently in Chronicles. And, Chronicles is pretty much a condensation of all of the walks of the children up to this point that they're in. They're currently being enslaved in Babylon. And it's basically chronicles their journey up to that point. And me, because these Bible studies are a lesson for me as well. I'm learning. I've read my Bible many times, but every time you read it, it's something new that you learn from it. You know what I mean? Every time you approach it for a different reason. Whether it's out of fascination, I think all of them have a tinge of fascination to them. But whether you're facing something or dealing with something or need clarity in something, you approach it and you try to ingest the word for direction. And every time you do that, you find something different, right? It's another layer of it unravels and shows itself to you. And this book, I did not start my Bible study speaking to Adam and Eve. I did not start my Bible study speaking to Noah, nor did I speak to Abraham and his walks with Sarah and his children, Isaac, and all of that. I started with Joseph. So that it was designed in a good way because it gives me time to go and reference situations that I just haven't spoken to. And this Adam and Eve story is really something that you really want to take your time with because it's a multi-layered story. A lot happened. We've already gone over the book of Enoch. We talked about the fallen angels. We know the fall. If you don't know it, look at my Bible studies on the book of Enoch. This story of the fallen angels, it really has to do with what happened in the beginning, which is the fall. The fall as it relates to Adam and Eve, the fall as it relates to the fallen angels. The book of Enoch speaks to really God's punishment to the fallen angels. It goes over what God did to Adam and Eve, but not really. It's really about the punishment of the fallen angels. It goes into the reasoning why they did such a terrible act in some way, but it's really about the fallen angels. The life of Adam and Eve is really about the life of Adam and Eve. What happened? What is Eve's story? What does Eve have to say about this? We hear what God has to say. We hear what the fallen angels experience. We hear what Enoch has to say. But nobody really hears what Adam and Eve had to say. So this book really represents Adam and Eve and what they have to say as far as what happened at that time. And nonetheless, so Eve already explained that she was guarding the feminine lot, the lot of women. Adam was guarding the masculine lot, the lot of men. So what happens is Satan, the devil, comes down. And now you got to understand who Satan is. Okay? Satan is just like one of these fallen angels. See, we say Satan, 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 but we forget that this is his original role was that he was an angel. Satan was an angel originally. He was just like Michael. He was just like Gabriel. He was just like all of these great angels that God sends into the world. The angels and the watchers are two different entities. There are watchers amongst us that blend in with everyday people. You wouldn't even know they're watchers, friend. You would think that it's this homeless man on the corner or someone at the grocery store with you. They're watchers. They're like people that are sent amongst the people to get a feel of what's going on amongst the people, and they relay that information to their colonel, their manager, or whoever, and they relay that to the angels, and the angels relay that to God. So the same thing with these angels, because God is a God of delegation. God works through a hierarchy. Any great system has a hierarchy to it. So the kingdom of God is the same way. So these angels that are here, Satan was one of them. All of them were here for a particular purpose. All these angels are masters, whether they're masters in war, whether they're masters in metal crafting, whether they're masters in astrology, whether they're masters in spiritual systems, whether they're masters in root cutting, whatever you want to do, there's a master to that. Okay? There isn't one person that knows how to do all these things outside of God Almighty. So these angels were here for particular reasons. They were here and ordained to be coming and going in this realm on business, on God's business. But what they did was they decided that they were going to make this their primary abode. They were going to transgress for whatever reason. Whatever reason, whether there was a war in heaven and they got kicked out and they came down here in a convention, meaning in a large group, and assembled here and said, we're going to incarnate here because we ain't got nowhere else to go. This is the best place for us because we can't go back home because we're warring. They may have been defiant in that way. Whatever the deal is, they came on Mount Hermon, and they all 200 of them assembled and said, we're going to rebel against God, and we're going to make a pact that we will not betray one another because we're going to be penalized for this. They knew they were going to get caught. And the Apocrypha and the Bible both say that they did it because they lusted after the women. It doesn't say they did it because of a war in heaven. They didn't say anything of that in the Apocrypha or in the Judeo-Christian Bible. It says in the book of Enoch they did it because they lusted after the women. And, I was looking up lust because I did my video on righteous women. And I can't say that it was Eve's deception and her manipulation that drew these fallen angels to her. Eve and Adam were just two regular people being fruitful and prospering in the garden. This was a controlled environment here on earth. These people didn't know anything. They didn't know anything about making weapons. They didn't know anything about beautifying themselves to make themselves want and to lust after one another. They were just basic, simple, righteous people. And these angels came and they corrupted the garden. They corrupted the minds of the women first because they lusted after them. What is lust? Lust is not love in the sense that it is, you'll be fruitful and multiply, and you'll have a partner that you enjoy and you just enjoy them and you get a benefit from that, which is a child who then grows and helps you, and then they go and they multiply with someone else, and the same cycle is progressively multiplied in the earth. No, that's not lust. Lust is something that you do without any benefit. It's like gluttony. It's over exaggerated activity, whether sexual or whatever. It you're obsessed by it. But you're not obsessed by it in the sense that it reaps you a benefit. Nothing comes of it. You're just obsessed by it. It's overindulgence with no particular beneficial result. So they lusted after these women. And the reason why I say that is because it speaks to this in the Apocrypha I just read to you. When Eve was approached by Satan, which is the fallen angel in the form of the devil. So what Satan did is, remember, these angels fell. They were ethereal beings. They're energetic beings. Our physical body is not who they are. They are ethereal beings. They are angelic. They are powerful. They are powerful beings. So in order to have their will done in the earth, they have to work through a vessel, a physical vessel in the earth. So what Satan does is he deceives and comes upon the serpent. And it says here, so it says it was the devil that came upon the serpent. Listen to this. So we're in a dance between the devil, the serpent, and Satan. Watch the wordplay. Chapter 16 of Life of Adam and Eve, verse 1. And the devil spoke to the serpent, saying, Rise up, come to me, and I will tell you a word whereby you may have profit. And he arose and came to him. And the devil says to him, I hear that you are wiser than all the beasts, and I have come to counsel you. So he flatters him. Okay? So the devil comes to the serpent and says, first of all, he tells him to rise up and come to me. First of all, he had to have been someone of importance that the serpent admired, or that took command from. You got these feathered serpents all throughout ancient times. All you got to do is look briefly. I was watching something on YouTube before I did this, and it reminded me of Quetzalcoatl and the Mayan, 18 rabbit in them. But Quetzalcoatl, which is the winged serpent. You got a pep in the Kemetic sciences, which is the walking snake. This serpent was renowned throughout the world. You got dragons, which is nothing but a serpent. A lizard-like serpent that flies and that spits out fire. So the serpent, the devil goes to the serpent and says, Arise and come to me. He commands him to come to me. Get up and come here. And the serpent, and he arose and came to him. He did it. And the devil says to him, I hear you are wiser than all the beasts, and I have come to counsel you. Why do you eat of Adam's tares and not of paradise? So he comes with manipulation. He comes with flattery to let him know, I think highly of you. That lets me know that the serpent thought highly of the devil. For anyone to tell you, I think highly of you, you got to think highly of them first for it to flatter you. And he says, why do you eat of Adam's tares and not of paradise? Why are you eating what Adam has left over and not of the abundance of righteousness? Rise up, and we will cause him to be cast out of paradise, even as we were cast out through him. See, none of these entities, none of these energies could reside within Adam and Eve because they were perfect. They were living in a perfect environment. Paradise. What is paradise? Paradise is a place of righteousness. It's a place of cleanliness. It's a place of balance. All is well. It is in its normal, organic state, in its natural state. It is perfect. That is paradise. In order for Adam to be able to live in paradise, he had to be perfect himself. These lower energies could not be in paradise without shifting for a while. I'm going to show you why. The serpent says to him, I fear lest the Lord be angry with me. That means that the serpent respected God. He feared God. He knew of God. The devil says to him, do not fear, only be my vessel, and I will speak through your mouth words to deceive him. Like I just told you, these entities need a vessel. The serpent is a physical vessel in the earth that bowed to God. At this time, the serpent bowed to God just like Eve. The serpent was the first one that was deceived. The devil came, Satan came and deceived the serpent first. The serpent wasn't as Adam. The serpent wasn't as Eve in the hierarchy. But the serpent was eating well. If only he could be happy with his role. But the devil came and said, why are you eating Adam's leftovers when you could be eating of paradise? Why are you accepting this role that God has given you? So there was somewhere in the serpent that wanted to be like Adam. Because if not, he wouldn't have taken the devil on his offer. And it says here, and instantly he hung himself from the wall of paradise. And when the messengers ascended to worship God, then Satan appeared in the form of a messenger and sang hymns like a messenger. And I bent over the wall and saw him like a messenger. But he says to me, are you Eve? So it says here, he instantly hung himself from a wall. A serpent hanging himself from a wall, which makes sense. They hang from trees. That means that through the devil, he can make this serpent do and be anywhere. Time is of no sequence. Time is of no concern. He's a shifter. He can take any form. Because it also says, and the messengers ascended to worship God. And Satan appeared in the form of a messenger and sang hymns like the messengers. So his other aspect of himself is a satanic aspect who can shift. He can look like anybody. Like that. And I bent over the wall and saw him like a messenger. And he says to me, are you Eve? He knew her name. And I said, I am. He said, what are you doing in paradise? He's trying to start conversation. And but not just any conversation. He needs to know what she knows. He needs for her to acknowledge the fact that she knows certain things. Because it's against his rule. He's bound by rules too, y'all. His rules is he cannot come upon you. He cannot come upon the ignorant. No. He can't come upon the ignorant. He comes upon the knowledgeable. So it says here, what are you doing in paradise? I said to him, God sent us a garden to eat of it. The devil answered through the mouth of the serpent. Now it's back to the devil. You do well, but you do not eat of every plant. This is the devilish manipulator, gigolo individual. You do well, but you don't eat of every plant. And I said, yes, we eat of all, but save only one, which is in the midst of the paradise, concerning which God charged us not to eat of it. He said to us, on the day on which you eat of it, you will die the death. So she acknowledged the fact that she knew the rules. He got her to confess the rules. Now it's open game. Now it's all manipulation at this point. He's manipulated his way in because he's an imposter. He came in looking like something he's not. Because had he came as he was, she would have never have had a conversation with him. So he created a look that made it seem like he was familiar to what she was familiar to. And nonetheless, and this video might run out of time. I'll have to do another one after this one. But so he looked like someone familiar. How many of us have found ourselves in situations with people because they seem familiar? there was there was something that we had in common with them. They said the right words that seemed like we were on the same page, but it was nothing but manipulation. What am I doing here? Okay, sorry y'all. Okay, so this is that, and so it says here. Then the serpent says to me, may God live. May God live. Like he's really fearing God. He loves God. But I am grieved on your account. I feel sorry for you. For I would not have you ignorant. But arise, come here, listen to me, and eat, and mind the value of that tree. So this serpent that's speaking to Eve, in order for Eve to allow this serpent in this far, she had to know his role. This serpent had to have some power within paradise, within the earth in general. He was respected amongst the people. For her to be flattered by him, he's respected amongst the people. She's seeing him and hearing of positive things from him for her to be able to even buy in this far. He says, arise, come here, listen to me and eat and mind the value of that tree. And she says, no, I'm afraid of God. I'm afraid. But I said to him, I fear lest God be angry with me. And as he told us, and he says to me, do not fear, for as soon as you eat of it, you too will be as God, in that you will know good and evil. But God perceived this, that you would be like him, so he envied you and said, you will not eat of it. No, give heed to the plant, and you'll see its great glory. Yet I fear to take the fruit. Second time she's afraid. And he says to me, come here, and I will give it to you. Follow me. Folks will lead you straight to hell. You listening to people that look a certain way and that talk a certain way and that have been trained to speak a certain way and to deliver thought-provoking this and that will lead you straight to hell. This is a prime example of that. Something in her spirit said, no, this ain't right. She said it 2 times. The serpent only said it once to the devil. She's fighting this serpent, and she's saying, no, better not. I better not. Everything he said about the tree will give you knowledge of good and evil and all of that was true. It wasn't as if he lied to her. That's how they get you. It's not that he's outright lying. He's just not telling you everything. And the parts that he's leaving out are very important parts. They overshadow the strong suit of the truth. And the strong suit of the truth is that, yeah, if you eat of this tree, you're gonna learn knowledge of good and evil. You will be like God in the sense you will have knowledge. But what that knowledge will do to you and all of the children that come after you out of your womb and out of your children's womb and out of their descendants' wombs will ruin everything. It will ruin your whole name. It's nowhere near perfect. Chapter 19. And I opened to him, and he walked a little way, then turned and said to me, I have changed my mind, and I will not give to you to eat until you swear to me to give also to your husband. And I said, what sort of oath will I swear to you? Yet what I know I say to you, by the throne of the master and by the cherubim of the tree of life, I will also give to my husband to eat. And when he had received the oath from me, he went and poured on the fruit the poison of his wickedness, which is lust, the root of the beginning of every sin. And he bent the branch on the earth, and I took up the fruit and I ate. He did just like anyone does that is manipulating you. As soon as they get you to buy in, now, and as soon as he got that oath, the real him came out. It wasn't about him caring about her and wanting to inform her or wanting to love her. It was him getting another name of another one of the women of the children of paradise. Because without the women, the fallen angels, the Satan, the devil, whatever you want to call them, without them attacking the woman first, they would have gotten nowhere. What he did was sexual activities with her, but in a lustful way. He taught her lust in the form of, in its most fundamental form, in a way where all it could do was reproduce itself after that. He led her to the water and said, what I have is too precious to give to just you. I can't guarantee that you're going to be able to handle all of what I'm going to give you, or nor that you're even deserving of it all. You're going to have to tell me that you're going to give it to your husband too. And I need you to swear by it. Same thing that these angels did when they were on Mount Hermon. I need you to swear by oath that I'm not going to hold this. I'm not going to be held accountable to this by myself. See, this is the tactic of the enemy. They don't want to just go down by themselves. They can't stand and own their own stuff. They got to take everybody with them. And why do they do this? Because they know the love that God has for his children. They know that God knows their tactics. And God knows that their tactics are unfair, friend. God knows the weaknesses that are in his children. Father and mother know it. And they know the games that these fallen angels and those like them play. I'm not even sure that this is the only realm that they've done such a thing on. I've been thinking about this. I couldn't be. Because this angel come like a gigolo. He come like, this is all a game. And I opened to him. As soon as she opened herself to him, he knew he had her. Oh, I got her now. And as soon as she opened to him, he walked away a little and turned and said to me, I have changed my mind and I will not give to you to eat until you swear to me and give also to your husband. He's a master salesman. He talk about closing the deal. What she came in to buy, it was the little. Now she taking home the whole kit and caboodle. He has her here. And he has her here. She's hoping, she's wanting it now. She done envisioned herself knowing life being easier, her having some form of control and power. That's what this is. That was his selling point. Control and power and ease. So now he got her body, and he's like, well, what? She's like, well, what sort of oath do you want? I mean, all I know is to say is, by the throne of the master and by the cherubim and the tree of life, I will also give to you, my husband. I will also give to my husband to eat. She put it on everything. She said, well, I put it on everything. And she don't even really know what it is. She just knows the surface level. And he got a contract on her. The devil works through contracts. I told you, when this hierarchy when God and his hierarchy come, God and his hierarchy, people talking about, oh, UFOs are going to come and this, that. They surely are going to come. They are. And when they come, it ain't going to be no saving nobody. It's not going to be that kind of party, y'all. If you think that people going to come off that UFO saving people and all of that, you're fooling yourself. The saving time is now. Because you got people amongst you right now that's watching and seeing everything. If you think this internet is by default or just by happenstance, you're crazy. you are tripping. The saving time is now. When them UFOs land and all of that kind of stuff, it's going to be trial, jury, penalties. That's what that is. And all he's going to say is his defense is going to be agreement. And he's going to pull out all them contracts. These are the contracts I have. Eve knew the truth. She confessed it out of her mouth. All I need to know is she know the truth. Whether I tricked her into it, whether I said some words or whatever, she let my words override her truth. Period. And that is exactly what happened. And from that, immediately her eyes were open and she knew she was naked. Immediately. She lost her righteous covering. She lost her protective barrier, the protective barrier of God. She compromised herself for nothing, for nothing. What she compromised was not even worth the knowledge she got. It rendered it worthless. And that is something that the serpent could never explain to her. She couldn't even imagine that. But how many are doing things like that? And propagating it like this some great grand thing, knowing darn well ain't nothing but suffering, struggle, resentment, unhappiness, despair. And then the first thing she does is she cries for Adam. Adam, Adam. Because you get to realizing what's important after you go through something like that. You get to realizing them simple things really mattered a lot. All this other stuff don't mean nothing. It's the simple. Because you get a direct contrast to it. It's in your face. And then it says here, but when your father came, I spoke to him words of transgression, which have brought us down from our glory. For when he came, I opened my mouth, and the devil was speaking, and I began to exhort, and said, "Come here, my lord Adam, listen to me, and eat of the fruit of the tree of which the God told us not to eat of it, and you will be as God." So she done told him another truth. Come and eat of this tree that you know and I know that God told us not to eat of it, and you're going to be like God. He knew he shouldn't do it. And the first thing he says is, your father answered, I fear lest God be angry with me. He knew he wasn't supposed to do it. Friend, at the end of the day, God comes with Michael. And from what Michael says is, I heard the chief messenger Michael blowing with his trumpet and calling the messenger, saying, Thus saith the Lord, come with me to paradise and hear the judgment with which I will judge Adam. He knew what had happened. He didn't even need her to tell him. When God called Adam and Adam said I was naked, he knew he had done it already. He knew it. God is your conscience. God is in you. He knew it. And Adam called to mind, it says here, who showed that you were naked unless you have forsaken my commandment, which I delivered you to keep? And then Adam called to mind the word which I spoke to him, saying, I will make you secure before God. She told him she was going to make him secure before God, but she couldn't do it. And he turned and said to me, why have you done this? And I said, the serpent deceived me. It's a blaming game. And that's what things like this always end up as, blaming games. But really, every man and woman for themselves. You can't blame nobody. All of these people knew they were wrong, from the serpent to Eve to Adam. I can lead you to the water. I cannot make you drink. The rules are the rules. We want to blame Eve so badly. Well, the serpent can blame the devil. I mean, it's a blaming game. It's a 3-tiered blaming game. And all of this, I'm going to have to do this video again because I'm going to do another one after this because my time on this one is getting short. But what leads after this is they get kicked out of the garden. They get kicked out. And it always interests me as to what Adam wanted to take upon leaving the garden, because he's wailing, everybody lamenting. It's a big deal. They are begging and pleading to stay in this garden, but they got kicked out. God didn't have no mercy on them and kicked them out. And God allowed Adam, to take crocus, nard, calamus, and cinnamon. And I thought about that. Like, why did he find these so necessary to take? Because he lost his covering. He lost his protective essence. And so now he had to find it in nature. Crocus, it's a flower. Spiritually, its essence is to invoke a spirit of joy, of youthfulness. It says nard. Nard is lavender, tranquility, devotion, peacefulness, rest, healing. Cinnamon, prosperity, healing as well. Cinnamon and clove, my business, fire, heat, passion, enthusiasm, protection. Calamus. Calamus is a commanding herb. A root, rather. It's a root. You can burn it, grind it down, and you can do a lot with it. It's a essence to a essential oil, but it is a protective herb, root, oil. You can banish evil spirits with it. You can invoke your will with it. It's a commanding herb. It is a very powerful herb. But it's really known for protection. He needed all of these things because he lost that in what he compromised with this serpent. And all of them fell because of this. The serpent went down on his belly. At first, he was walking with 2 feet, 2 arms. He had ears and wings. He went down on his belly. And I want to read something to you because Eve and Seth went. Where am I at? Chapter 10 and 11. So Eve and Seth went to, where did I see this at? Jasher. Life happening. Okay, so 10 and 11. Okay, so Eve and Seth are walking. This is after this, and they see someone getting attacked by a beast-headed person with a human body. Because this is what came after this. Eve is pregnant. Eve done got pregnant by this interaction with the serpent. She gets pregnant by Satan's seed. Because Satan was in the serpent and acting as a serpent. She gets pregnant by this activity. And she gives birth to Cain. I'm going to elaborate on that in a moment. But she's speaking to a beast and condemning him and saying, she says, woe is me, if I come today to the resurrection, and all those who have sinned will curse me, saying, Eve has not kept the commandment of God. And she spoke to the beast, you wicked beast, do you not fear to fight with the image of God? And I'm going to go to chapter 11. And the beast says, it is not your concern, Eve, your greed and your wailing, but your own. For it is from you that the rule of the beast has arisen. How was your mouth open to eat of the tree concerning which God enjoined you not to eat of it? On this account, our nature has been transformed. Now, therefore, you cannot endure if I begin to reprove you. He checked her and said, you can't say anything to me because, yeah, I'm an abomination, but you created it. You knew the law of God, and you still ate of that tree, and you still laid down with that serpent. And had you not